Oh, look at that smile. Did you hear the story about the when you trip him, how he has a slight chance of going, "I'm falling." Oh, you can keep it
Oh,
playing. I figured
oh,
we'd make
okay, okay,
commentary
okay.
over the video itself.
Um, I do not know. I do
But
not know that. No, did
yeah,
not know that.
it was requested by the director because he was a big fan of Zerd, and he was like, I always found it really funny that that animation had him going, "Ah, I'm falling," and it's kind of a meme in the community because of the way it was delivered. I was like, let's see if we can do it for the game. So we did an example where I played it more seriously, and it went, "Oh, I'm falling," but they put it in and people loved it. Crying for the moon. Oh, what a hard phrase.
I mean, I feel like these I was going these lyrics sort of feel like your life story too, in a way. Especially not. I mean, I
In
mean,
what way?
you start
In
off on new. I know
what way?
your story from the VAC interview. About Newgrounds, right? You were on Newgrounds. You told people that you didn't that you were gonna be voice actor. Everyone said you were wrong, and now you're here.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, it's kind of funny because I try not to lean too much into the negative side of it, but it's funny the whole like crying at the moon is really funny because around the time that I was getting more involved in voice acting, there was an anime series that I had watched called
Love
Wolf's
Wolf's
Rain,
Rain.
if you're
I
familiar
love
with it
that
at all.
so much.
And there are
I
oh,
likes
and
Wolves
there are
here.
so many themes in that show. Yeah, yeah. In the anime, in the music about thematic elements of the moon and about like traversing on your own through the night, and not to be emo about it, but this was definitely a time where in high school I was like, I want to be a voice actor, and like you have to imagine in a prototypical high school in the 2000s. Voice acting is not a thing most people in high school are thinking about or aware of or interested in. So you've got people doing sports, you've got people doing social activities, and then you have this kid who already wasn't super popular in school going, "I'm going to be a voice actor for anime." And like that doesn't work out well when it comes to social circles. Um so it's kind of ironic the lyrics here are very applicable, but not in the way that you originally thought, because at that point in time, when I was building up on Newgrounds, it was like, well, it's not like I'm affected by people pointing and laughing or saying, "What the hell is that?" because I'm already used to being ostracized a little bit. So, similar to how it says, "What do I have to fear? What do I have to lose?" It's like, I know what I want to do. And it's not like I've let other people's opinions affect what I did before because I was already kind of my own thing. So, what do I have to fear? So, it is
What about
accurate
how
in a
they
sense. Yes.
apply to Kai? How do you feel like the lyrics apply to Kai's character from what you obviously the voice of him?
My immediate thought is Dragon Install, because my understanding is that it's not exactly a power up that he was seeking in the beginning, and that he was almost worried about the effect that it would have on the people of Illyria, because he's supposed to be their guiding king, their guiding leader. He wants to be a benevolent leader, but Dragon Install doesn't exactly look like the most friendly form that you can take. Um, so I can definitely see the both the implications that it has for his character and the facade that he has to put on, but also the connections that it has to him going, you know, if this new power allows me to better protect the people that I care about so much, rather than worrying about keeping up appearances, isn't it more important that I have the power to act on my
And he's the
promises?
one that
You know
drag.
what I mean?
No,
If
sorry.
I tell people,
No, I mean he's the one that Dragon
go ahead, go ahead.
installs at the end of Strive, not Soul, which is interesting because Soul's usually the one Dragon installing to save the day, but Soul doesn't Dragon install. You do, which is the interesting thing. Right.
Right. Right. And so maybe it's even like there's a big sense of camaraderie here where like Soul Bad Guy and Ky Kiske are very close as individuals, even though they're constantly acting as rivals to each other. And so it's very cool to see the idea that Kai goes, well, if Soul is capable of doing this, And, I don't consider myself better than him, but if I'm a more prepared, composed, trained individual and he's willing to do this when necessary, why wouldn't I be? And he almost finds permission through the fact that Soul does that. He finds the permission in himself to use that power as necessary to protect the people who
Self,
matter to him.
you definitely say, is form of self-acceptance.
Under the sacred wires, never stop, just go. I don't care how many more gotta get. Bearing the pale fire, I'm going out for as I can. I hope my path will be a guideline for someone to follow.
Do you have anything to say about that? A guide, a light of hope for someone to follow.
Um, God, it sounds so emo when you actually break down the lyrics of it. Um, I mean, for Kai, it's very obvious. Dragon Install isn't really something you can come back from, but he's like, screw it. I don't care how many more scars I get. I just hope that whatever I'm doing either guides the people of Illyria or helps someone else to realize their own potential. Something that we also see hints of in his cutscenes involving Bridget, where he's helping them find acceptance in their new identity or their imbued identity, and it's like, hey, come by and see Dizzy sometime. They miss you, they'd love to interact with you. For myself, I wish I could say I was as selfless as saying I want to just provide a guiding light for someone to follow. I'm not that altruistic, but I will say that my hope is that because I have people that reach out and are like, "Hey, do you do workshops? Do you do classes?" Um, and my common response is, I'm still trying to keep my own life intact. I don't know if I should be taking money and teaching other people what they should be doing in case I teach the wrong thing. But there is that part of me that goes, while I'm going to try and do the best for myself that I can, I hope that I can figure out how to educate others on my experiences and share, my stories, share my side of it so that people who end up on the same path as me have a source of inspiration, someone that they can use as a template. So there is, while I wouldn't say I am doing this purely for the purpose of treading a path for others to follow, um, I do believe that there is a mix of, all right, I'm in this because it's something that I enjoy and that I want to be doing, but I also hope that my own experiences and me talking about what I've been through will help others who end up going down that same path down the line.
All right. And I will say, there's the person that does a few. We just broke down Axel's theme last night. That will be released later. But we broke down this theme
Hmm.
together, and he told me last night to tell you that he goes by Rage, that you are a very big inspiration for him. So I will say you definitely have tread that path for some people. I mean, a guy that,
Thank you. I just hope to be able to keep doing that as long as I'm in
yeah,
this
that's good to know.
industry.
The roar of the storm!
The Luxray line.
The Luxray line, baby.
The thunder burns my eyes. What a strange descent. Sound becomes hot again. Never ending why. Forgot I what I want. Is this Arcadia? I don't know what's right for the world. Oh, I may have lost my way. There's no reason to doubt it now. So what do I have to feel? Under the sacred wires, never stop, just go. I don't care how many more stars again. Here in the pale fire, I'm going out for as I can. I hope my path will be a guideline for someone to follow.
There we go.
The roar of the storm!
Here comes that homage, baby. God, the cell shading on the in-game animations is so cool.
Here we go.
It is.
So I do have to ask the
I f
question.
yeah, I was just about to pause
Yeah,
it
what do you have to
myself.
say?
Oh, no, I mean, go ahead with your question. I'll probably follow up on
So
it
for holy,
accordingly.
so the fact that not they didn't just put in holy orders just because it was cool to put it in, and everyone loves holy orders. They put it in to demonstrate that there is that Kai is transformed as a person ever since he was. I mean, he wanted to kill Soul originally very badly because I mean, Gears killed his
Right.
parents.
I find it interesting that you also saw that duality in there, and I feel like the dueling guitars helps contribute to that. You know, you've obviously we have the whole concept of the roar of the spark, and that the roar being kind of like a bestial, untamed. You think of like the natural element of lightning. It is very uncontrolled. Where we don't really know how to harness. Okay, we can harness electricity, but we as human beings do not harness lightning on an average basis. It is this terrifying force that can be very destructive. But then when you really think about it, lightning is also a very focused energy, you know? Lightning literally can only happen because of a buildup of electrons that finds a positive force on the ground. And it is not a widespreading thing that looks for anything it can do. It chooses the most efficient path from the sky to the ground. It literally trails down, and then the light that we see is that connection happening. So I find it so interesting that a song like Roar of the Spark can also apply to Kai in that he's got this wild, untamed power through Dragon Install. But the reason why it's so threatening is because he, as a composed individual, is able to focus it in order to create, the electric burst that he does. It is something of that magnitude that is honed and narrowed into specific attacks or specific form change is very scary to anyone that would be on the receiving end of it. But also, the dueling guitar section applies you hear the singular guitar, which is of course his own conviction, but then leads into the dueling guitar, which you also have two different meanings for. It is you have the addition of the second guitar being the representation of Dragon Install, which is the new power that he's taken on, which kind of provides like this aura, this eminence of power that provides is similar to the aura that the second guitar provides in that duet. But also kind of the battling at odds with the Kai that he was before, with the Kai that he's becoming now, where now he's kind of embroiled. As we mentioned before, he's got that feeling of, is this power right for me? Am I doing the right thing? I don't know anymore. As long as I have it, I need to push forward and do the best that I can with what I now have as part of me. So it's so cool that these dueling guitars represent not only the combined powers, but also the clash of those powers
I
as
would
well.
say, but regarding the quote unquote old Kai, how it feels like the way even in contrast to how he is in Xrd, where he's still dressed up like a king. He talks a little bit more knightly. I mean, I'm gonna see if you would do
Hmm.
his insta kill. I just looked like an RPG protagonist. And did they ever direct you to be still somewhat prim and proper, or is it because he's wearing casual clothes now? He's just an RPG. He's not generic protagonist. He's got a lot of weight on him, and he's got a lot of things on him. But is he just completely loosened up now?
The way that I had it described to me Yeah, the way that I had it described to me was the basis that they gave was it's Reen Schwarzer from Trails of Cold Steel, but less of the emo boy and more of the I must fight for my people. If you're familiar with Reen from Trails of Cold Steel, he has a lot of similarities to Kai. You know, he wields a sword. Um, he obviously has special powers or elemental powers that he can imbue in his attacks. He has a power deep inside of him that concerns him because he's worried it's going to affect what other people think of him. But whereas Reen kind of approached it from a more fearful position of, I'm scared of the power that's inside of me, and I don't know if it's going to take over if I give into it. Kai was more of the, I have this power inside of me. I'm just worried about what others are going to think. Um, so that was where the similarities ended and where I was able to make Kai a different character. Whereas Reen kind of does it out of a sense of of duty and caution. I feel like Kai does it out of a sense of duty through confidence and I wouldn't even say obligation. I would say he just understands that there's people relying on him that he's in charge of, and he's not as fearful of it as Reen is. He's trying to make sure that he uses it in the right way. Um, so Reen, I might take a stance if I were to, because I'm a very physical actor. I tend to embody the stance of the character as they're feeling in that moment. Whereas Reen, I might do something where like my shoulders are slumped a little bit, where I'm like not as sure, and I'm just trying to like get my bearings and have a solid stance on the ground. Kai was one of those where I would kind of puff out the chest and like square the shoulders because it's like for Reen, keeping the power under control is kind of being aware of himself and mentally checking in on himself and going, okay, am I still me? Do I have this under control? Whereas Kai would have kind of the more Superman pose where he's like, I must be confident. I must be stout. If I show weakness, then I'm not fit to be a king. And that confidence will show itself through
I
the
see.
voice just by taking that posture.
Okay, continue.
Time to be able to see. It is hard to breathe. The light goes out again. Never-ending road, a place without color. That's the world we can't die. That's right, go.
As I was saying, I find it interesting that the third set of lyrics or the third stanza makes a lot of mentions to the ocean. Um, not that obviously they wouldn't know this about me, but I find it funny that it applies to me because one of my big hobbies that I had when I was younger was being part of the swim team. I was a really big swimmer. Um, but I also I would need more time to fully analyze it, but I like that they make the mention of like a world without color. That's the world we can die. Pick the colors that we paint it with. Because it was something I hadn't considered until that lyric came up. I'm like, oh right, lightning is composed of light, and light is composed of like all the colors of the spectrum combined together. Um, or involves the colors of the spectrum. Um, and I found it interesting the way that they use those lyrics to say, hey, a world without color means that all of the light that my lightning contains has the potential to die at whatever I want to die at. So I just thought that was really
Yes.
interesting choice
All
of
right.
lyrics.
Let's continue.
I can't believe in the path I'm on. Why? So what do I have to be? Under the lonely moon, it only flocks of words. This motion with my colors, bearing the pain of fire. I'm going out for as I can to keep the flow alive. Under the sacred wires, never stop, just go. I don't care how many more stars again. Yeah, bearing the pain of fire. I'm going out for as I can. It will be endless, and it's never end. Hoping to build the world with all kinds of light.
All right. Any other thoughts?
Very cool. Just the section of don't look back, I can believe the path that I'm on. I like the idea of it saying, if you have even if you're not sure what result is going to come of the path that you're taking, if you have faith in the choices that you're making, if you have pride in who you are and you have pride in the reasoning that led you to that choice, then it makes sense. What do I have to fear? Now we could argue whether this is Kai trying to convince himself of saying, if I think this is going to work, then why am I hesitating? Or it could be Kai coming to a realization of, um, I don't know what the future holds, but I have faith in my abilities and I have pride in what I've achieved as a king. So why would it matter to me what other people think? I'm doing what I think is right and I'm doing it with conviction. Um, I myself as a person find that to be a double-edged sword because I'm like, yeah, there's lots of things in this world that people are have extreme faith in, and I don't mean in a religious context. I just mean they truly believe that it's the right course of action and they have pride in what they're doing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that what they're doing is correct or is seen in, through the eyes of others as ethical or correct. So you have to be careful that when you're convincing yourself by going, yeah, I have faith in what I'm doing, I have confidence in what I'm doing, that doesn't automatically mean it's the right thing to do. But I guess in that we're talking about something that applies to the real world and rather than guilty gear logic where, the power of trust in yourself and your friends at your side is enough to overcome any evil that
Yeah.
stands in your way.